Assalamu alaikum. So, welcome to the Zero BS Business Skills, inshallah, that will help you sign more clients, collect more money up front in sales, and dominate in the new economy. What is the new economy? Well, we'll get into that a little bit later. But I went from making 4K per month to making 15K per month, alhamdulillah. And inshallah, the goal is to use the same skills to get me to 100K per month. So, the exact same skills I'm showing you now, I'm going to be using, inshallah, to get me to 100K per month. And these 4 skills I developed since starting my entrepreneurial journey, I will start with the easiest one and end with the hardest one, but it gives the biggest return. So the first one is going to be the easiest one to apply today. The last one is going to be the hardest one to apply today, but the last one is going to give you the biggest return. So very quickly, in terms of the new economy, by the way, if you didn't realize, since 2008, there's been a lot of studies showing how people used to spend their money. People were more happy to spend their money back then, way, way more happy. But most businesses and most people in general, after going through the financial crisis in 2008, they don't want to spend their money as much. Well, though they don't want to spend their money as much, they have to spend their money on something that they see as valuable. So it's really important to become more skilled so you're able to leverage this, which we'll talk about leverage in a second, so you can stand out among your competitors, because you'll differentiate yourself not just with who you are, your offer and your business and everything else, but most importantly, the skills that you deliver, the skills that you have in your arsenal. So skills themselves are a form of leverage. Let's say I did 100 cold calls as a complete beginner and I only booked 2 meetings. Now, 5 years later, if I was to do 100 cold calls, I'd book 20 meetings and I 10x'd my output without actually 10xing my input in the first place. And that's what skills do. And a quick note as well, everything is trainable. So before you think, I can't do this, I can't do that, Fedi, I've never done this before, you can, Habibi. Just assume that you can do it, right? Because for me, I remember when I started cold calling in the first place, I'd literally book one meeting in probably 150, 200 cold calls. Genuinely, it'd be horrendous. And alhamdulillah, over the time, once I got to like 5,000 cold calls in total, I was able to book 5 meetings in 100 cold calls. And then it kept increasing and increasing. And every conversation I had, I think it was 1 in 3 conversations, I would book a meeting. I had a 33% appointment booking rate. Not dialed to a booking rate, but booking rate once I had the conversation, alhamdulillah. So let's jump in. The number one skill you can develop, the easiest skill you can develop as well, is listening. And I remember having a sales call with a prospect when I had my dental marketing agency, and he was telling me about how he had financed his car. So he basically kind of put it on finance so he can get money for it. He had to sell his house and how he's been through the trenches basically to keep his business alive. And for most people, this would seem like a cry for help. They would feel sorry for this person. But if you listen carefully, that's not what he's trying to tell me. That's not what he was trying to say. What he's saying is that he is willing to take risks for his business. And he's willing to do what it takes for his business to grow and to survive. And he was seeing if I was this kind of person as well. He wanted to see if I was the same person as him. So when I replied with, so let's call him Trent, by the way. So Trent, I can see how committed you are to making this work. And I can tell you want somebody to be working with you who's willing to take on the risks that you have taken before and also be as committed as you are to growing the practice. Am I right? And I could still remember his big smile, right? His name wasn't actually Trent, but I can remember Trent giving me a big, really big smile on Zoom. And he's like, yes, exactly that. And that was my first ever client as well. That was my first ever client. I had 0 testimonials. I had 0 experience. It was my first ever client. And I know that I was able to close that client because the entire time on the sales call, I was listening. I was listening specifically to what he was trying to say. So listening is simple. You just hear words and acknowledge what the other person is saying. The skill comes when you start reading between the lines and listening to what the other person is really wanting to say. And imagine your mum tells you that you work too much. She's worried for your health and thinks that by being in front of the computer all day, you are damaging yourself. Relatable? Yeah, that's what I get to hear all the time. She then yells at you and gets angry when you don't take a break. It might sound like she just wants you not to overwork yourself, but if you really listen to what your mum had to say, what she wants to see is how you react to her hostility. You want to see how you react to her being hostile. What she's actually saying is, I can see you're pushing and pursuing your goals, but I think you should still prioritize your health, and I would like you to spend more time with me. Honestly, that's literally what she's saying. If your parents are getting angry at you, it's not because you're necessarily doing something wrong. You're like, how am I doing something wrong? I'm literally working on my business. Listen to what they're actually trying to tell you. They're trying to tell you that they miss you. They want to spend more time with you. Right? They can see you're growing up. It's hard for them to see these things. And how could you get angry at that? How could you get angry at your mum for her just wanting to spend time with you? When you acknowledge this, she feels heard. And when you just say, I'm fine, mum, just, mama, labes, I'm fine, just chill out, right? Then she feels ignored. Even though you've replied to her, even though you've said something to her, she still feels ignored. So listening with intention is important too. Listen as you want to understand the other person, not just hear them. Listening isn't about hearing something. It's about fully understanding and comprehending what that person had to say. So try this out in your next conversation, inshallah. Confirm with the other person if what you understood is what they want to say. So for example, someone might tell you, oh, do you know what, Fedi? I really, really feel like having sushi for dinner. right? That's quite easy. Like you heard them. You could just say, cool. So if I understand correctly, you want sushi for dinner and nothing else, right? It's just sushi that you're craving. Yeah, it's sushi that I'm craving. Bam. You literally just utilize the listening skill on something incredibly easy and simple, by the way, because they directly told you what they wanted. But most of the time when you get told a story, when you get told to do something by somebody else, they might not be telling you the thing directly. And it's important for you to hear out and confirm with them what they actually wanted you to do in the first place. It also saves you, by the way, a bunch of headaches later on when you misunderstand somebody. So do this in the masjid as well when you listen to the Quran. Really listen with the intention of understanding and appreciating the Quran, understanding and trying to listen to every single word. And even if you don't understand Arabic, listen to the way the person does it with tajweed. Listen to the way they speak. Listen to the way they say it, right? There's beauty in that as well. Not just in the words themselves, but there's beauty in the way the Quran is read. So that's number one skill, listening. Number two, the skill is focus. You see, most entrepreneurs I speak to aren't focused. They can't focus on one business model. They can't focus on their work for more than 2 hours. And that's being generous because most of the time they just go on their phone and do something else. They can't even focus on their YouTube videos as they scroll down to the comments to see what people have said. And they sometimes look on the sidebar, right, to see what video to watch next. Focus gives you power and direction. You have to aim in one specific direction for you to succeed. Because if you don't focus, if you don't learn the skill of focus, no matter what you attempt in life, it will always feel like you miss the bullseye. It will always feel like you don't hit the goal itself. You need time to succeed in something. And the more you take away the energy and time, and you keep taking away energy and you keep taking away time from something, the less it will grow. Fundamentally, in life, like living things, they grow when you sustain them with something, such as energy, food, right? Calories, it's a form of energy. When you sustain something with food, and over a long enough period of time. So for example, babies don't grow without being fed, obviously. But even if you feed them for just one day, it's going to take a lot longer for them to grow to be a man or a woman, right? And I used to jump from one business model to the next. Oh, I'm going to resell Go High Level. I'm going to do SMMA. I'm going to do SaaS. I'm going to do SWAS, right? SaaS with a service. I'm going to do Google reviews. I'm going to do copywriting. I'm going to do coaching, this and that. I kept jumping back and forth. The only time I actually started making money was when I focused on just one thing. And I focused on that thing for an entire year. Because your energy is a form of nutrients to your business and to your life in general. And time is the thing that's going to let it compound on itself and continue growing. So imagine someone going to the gym for just 1 week and then changing their workout routine. Then the next week they change it again. Not only would it be hard for them to be consistent, but it would also be difficult for them to make progress in that area. So just pick one thing and stick with it. You wouldn't change wife every once in a while, would you? Generally, like how do you expect the marriage that you have with your wife to be the best it can be if every time she does something wrong, you're like, cool, I'm going to go to another woman? Like, it just doesn't work, does it? It won't work because you have to be committed. You can't be interested in something. You have to focus. You have to aim and shoot, right? So I want you to look at this image because I want you to internalize this image for the rest of your life. If you have your focus in loads of different directions, most of the time you won't even hit the initial threshold here, right? You won't even make your first dollar online, for example. You won't even make money with the business itself. You might make money, but you won't make more than $1,000 per month. And if you're aiming to just make $1,000 per month, I'm probably the wrong person you should be watching because inshallah, I will always be pushing you to do more. And the biggest thing here is that if you focus properly, then you end up hitting the stratosphere. Then you end up hitting this new zone here, which is 10K, 20, 100K per month. If me and my business partner started another business now, we would never hit our goals, ever hit our goals. But now that we only focus on the thing that we're working on right now, only focused on the students that we have, the clients that we have, we're trying to give them the best possible results ever. Inshallah, everything goes up from there. Everything. However, if we were to try to focus on loads of different things, then nothing would work, would it? Because we need our energy to give life to something. And over enough period of time, that thing will grow exponentially and it will keep growing. I'm telling you now, commit to one thing and focus on it. You can't just be interested in loads of different things. You have to be committed to one thing. The same way you are committed. The same way you have to commit yourself to one business model, right? One person. You commit yourself to one thing, that thing will grow so much more. So much more. And look at it this way. You will never make progress that you are looking for by being distracted. But it is almost impossible for you to lose if you stay focused and stay in one game long enough. Right? If you stay focused and stay in one game long enough, you will succeed. And yes, sometimes you might be thinking, well, Fedi, what if the thing I'm jumping to is a new opportunity? What if it's a really good opportunity? What if I'm missing out on something? And you have the fear of missing out coming in. But Fedi, isn't this business model saturated? Isn't this, that? Listen, if you just focus on one thing for the next year, you will succeed with it. No matter how saturated it is, no matter how new it is, just stick with one thing and you will succeed. I personally prefer things that are tried and tested because then I can go in and tweak, like differentiate myself with an offer and then focus on a business model that people know works. Because I'm not trying to recreate the wheel. I'm trying to piggyback on something that works and make it better with my own effort, right? So number 3, and this is very, very linked to number 2, which is sabr, patience. So once you can focus, it's time to be patient. O believers, seek comfort in patience and prayer. Allah is truly with those who are patient. This is in Surah Al-Baqarah, right? Ayah 153. If it is decreed for us by Allah, then let's follow it, right? And I spoke to one of my students the other day, and he mentioned that he's been losing motivation and that he feels like he's been putting in the work, but nothing has come of it. He hasn't got closer to his goal. And I told him that he needs to reframe the whole situation. The goal isn't his actual goal. Your real goal is to do the work every single day and then be patient for the outcome, as only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can decide when the outcome comes, right? Only Allah can decide when you get the reward itself. You just have to focus on the work. That's it. It takes a lot of pressure off you, right? You just have patience. You do the work every day and you wait for the thing to come. And our patience is tested when we don't have deadlines, when we don't know when we're expecting something. That's when your patience is really tested. When you know you have to wait a week for something, yeah, you have to be patient for 7 days. But if you never knew when it was going to come, then your patience really gets tested. So once you set a goal, look at the inputs you have to take, look at the actions you have to take. This might be outreach, sales calls, etc. And only focus on mastering those actions. Forget about the goal and only focus on mastering those actions. Because when you take those actions, right? You take those actions, you genuinely work towards them. You have impatient actions. So you take action impatiently. You take action every single day. Every day you work as if it's your last day, right? Or that your goal can be achieved tomorrow if you work hard enough. And then bam, once you sleep, said that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can decide when you achieve your goal. All you have to do is put in the work. And I say this with a tiny grain of salt, which is you don't want to be working 15, 16 hours per day, by the way. Because imagine if you were to die tomorrow, right? I assume you would work hard if you were to die tomorrow and potentially your business could grow, right? But you would also spend more time worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? I'm not saying this in terms of like go work every day for 16 hours and don't never stop, right? But what I'm telling you is take those actions impatiently. Don't wait until tomorrow. Take those actions impatiently as if there is no tomorrow. Start it as soon as you can, right? And every single day you work hard. You work as if your goal can be achieved tomorrow with the work that you're doing today. Because patience is a skill that we can develop over time. But usually it just means controlling our impulses and refraining, right? Holding ourselves back from doing something quickly for no other reason than impatience, for no other reason than because we're emotional. So patience not only comes from controlling your impulses, but it comes from holding yourself back from doing something just because you're emotional. So Ramadan is a test of patience. Annoying people are a test of patience, right? And long queues are a test of patience. The more you test yourself, the better your skill in patience becomes. But patience gives birth to acceptance, which is really, really important, right? Accept that Allah is the only one and is the one who decides when something happens. All you can do is work to make sure you have a chance to make it happen in the first place. And that's it. When you work, you just make sure it can work. That makes it like when you put in the effort, you make sure that your effort, inshallah, will get rewarded. But you don't decide when that happens. You don't decide how that happens. You just focus on the work. You focus on the one thing that you can control, which is your actions and your work. Ibrahim alayhi salam was known to be a sabr, right, a patient one. And in life, whenever I took action as if there's no tomorrow, I always saw the reward sooner. But I never expected it. I never was like, yeah, I'm expecting to get that. I'm expecting to get that. I just put in the work I knew I needed to put, and then I got there, alhamdulillah. So sabr takes away 99% of the stress, by the way, generally. Because most of our stress comes from expecting something and that thing not happening. And then we get disappointed. When you stop expecting things to happen, right? You don't expect your goal to come. You just expect yourself to work and you push yourself to work every single day. And you'll find yourself a lot less stressed in general, inshallah. So the final skill, the most important skill, in my opinion, when it comes to business is sales. You're probably not surprised, okay? But I'm going to teach you something very unique about sales. And at the end, I'm going to give you an opportunity to watch some unlisted videos that I have in regard to selling, inshallah. There's an equation to 10K per month I want to share with you, which is 10K per month, first of all, believing it's possible, equals to discipline plus sales. If you can be disciplined, you can take action every day. If that action is a process of selling and persuading those you talk to buy your product or service, then bam, dollar bills, y'all, right? I don't know if that's how Danny DeVito sounds. I haven't heard of him in a while. But basically, you can make it rain. You can make a lot of money. You'll be making a lot of money, inshallah. But most importantly, your entire life is sales. Your entire life, you're trying to persuade people to do certain things. You'll always be selling your ideas, your perspective, and your reasoning to other people. The better you are at persuading them, the more impact you'll have on your life and their lives. Inshallah for khair, inshallah for the better, right? And fundamentally, persuasion is business. You persuade the market to pick you and not your competitors. You persuade them to buy your product at the price that you decide. Persuasion is not convincing, because convincing itself has some friction to it. Convincing is going against what someone wants. Persuading them is like riding a wave, right? They want this thing, and you're taking them towards what you want them to go towards. So they're riding the wave anyways. They're the wave themselves, and you're just riding. You're not fighting it, you're riding it. So they already want your thing or something similar to it. You just direct them to an already existing desire, right? You just direct that desire towards you, and that's it. So how can you develop your selling skills? As written selling, right, which is copywriting, and spoken selling. And I would recommend reading books on both topics, but understand this fundamental truth, which is the best thing you can do is learn about human psychology. Understand what people like, hate, and want, and what they truly desire. Then persuasion becomes easy because you understand the people you're talking to. Take as many sales calls as you can, for example. Have as many conversations as you can with people. Remove your ego and observe what the other person actually wants, what they love to hear, and how they speak. So usually when I have a conversation with people, the most important thing I try and do is to understand them at a deeper level. Understand what they want. I try and understand how they speak. Understand how they want to be spoken to. I want to understand, I want to know what they love to hear. I want to know, what they want to hear from me. And that way I improve my sales skills by becoming an amazing observer of people. That's how you do it. If you want to improve your copywriting, you just look at how people behave when they buy things, for example. What words do they like to hear? What words do they hate to hear? I was being shouted at by my teacher, by the way, in French class at some point. I think this was when I was in year 9, so that was 14 years old. Right, and it's a fantastic story. I was messing around and passing notes to my friend Max, and he was not subtle about it at all. So I'd blame him, by the way. I think I got caught because of him. So she kept us after class and threatened us with an after-school detention. She was really, really angry. And luckily, I had known the teacher for 3 years. So I knew exactly what she wanted to hear, how to apologize to her, and the way to do it as well. I knew her, basically. Then me and Max left without any detentions and zero trouble. We were chilling by the end of it. She wasn't even mad by the end of it. Generally, she was mad at the beginning, and then she was not mad at the end of it, even though nothing had changed in what we had done. Okay? And the reason for that is the more time I spent selling in general, the more time I spent getting to know people, the more money I made. And sales is the number one direct business skill that will help you make a lot of money. Don't sell out your own pocket, and especially don't sell from your ego, because the biggest danger you can make is selling from your own ego, selling what you want to sell, rather than selling what other people want to buy from you. And selling out of your own pocket, meaning charging what you think is an acceptable price rather than what the market thinks is an acceptable price. If the market is willing to pay $10,000 for it, then charge $10,000 for it. Just because you wouldn't pay $10,000 doesn't mean someone else wouldn't. And most importantly, learn sales the best way that you possibly can to generally become like a proper business entrepreneur, right? So inshallah, if you want to take sales seriously, if you want to learn how to become one of the sabirin, right? If you want to become more patient, if you want to also learn how to focus on the one business model that will generally help you work and help you make a lot of money, inshallah, because it's something that me and my business partner have done. It's something we've helped loads of other people do as well, right? And when you have focus, when you listen to people and you learn how to sell and you learn how to listen to people, which obviously we can teach you in the free school community. So feel free to join. It's completely free, by the way. Feel free to join. There's loads of modules in there about all of this lovely stuff. And inshallah, we can show you exactly how you can go making 10K per month and develop those skills that will get you to 100, a million per month. Inshallah, bi'idhnillah. Right? So inshallah, I'll see you inside. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum.